Hello everyone, welcome to my show and tell. The game I chose to do is called Ready or Not. It's a first-person shooter where you play as a typical SWAT team. There's multiple missions where you have to use different loadouts and everything to complete the objective. So let's just get right into it. So this is what the home screen looks like, pretty simple. Single player, multiplayer. We're going to load into quick play, just kind of get the gist of the game, not really go into too depth with all the different mechanics because we're really just concerned with the AI. So when we load in here, we're in our headquarters and we can kind of look around, see what's all around, but we're going to head over to the SWAT units section where we can edit our loadout. So right now everything is just default. As you can see, you can edit the loadout for yourself and your 4 other team members that are the AI that we're going to be talking about today. Now there's a bunch of different loadouts you can use. There's a lot of different ways you can play this game. The default just kind of gives you a bare bones sort of loadout, flashbangs, the basic kind of armor, all that stuff. But you can really go in depth with this. You can wear night vision, ballistic mask to help with face protection. You can use all different kinds of weapons, some lethal, some non-lethal. For this class, we're going to use the non-lethal weapons just so it's a little more PG-13. For this first mission, we're going to be running the beanbag shotgun. Now, this is a fun one. It obviously, like it sounds, shoots a beanbag to kind of incapacitate enemies instead of just straight up, executing them. And you can also see here we're looking at the different items you can bring on the mission. You bring flashbangs, stinger grenades, gas grenades, explosive charges to blow open doors, all that kind of stuff. But for this first mission, we're just going to run the default with the non-lethal weapons and kind of take a look at how the AI interacts with each level. So now that we got our loadout all figured out, we can head over to the mission select screen. Now as you can see, there's lots of different missions in this game. There's also a couple DLCs that I've bought. The Home Invasion and Dark Waters just adds more missions. But they all have different stories behind them, and if you're playing the career mode, the story matters a little bit more. There's kind of sub-objectives you can do that relate to the story. But for these quick play kind of things, you can just kind of run through, do whatever you want. But to get started, we're going to do one of my favorite levels called A Lethal Obsession. Now this is a fun one. It's about a small house out in the middle of the woods. There's a couple people in there, and they've taken, they've holed up. Apparently, they've committed some kind of crime against police officers in the downtown area, and they ran back to this house, and we've been sent in to get them out. So when you start out, you're kind of off to the side of the mission area, and you have all your AI friends behind you, and by default, they just follow you around. And on the bottom right there, you can see kind of the status message of all your different AI friends. And by default, like I said, they just kind of fall in and go right behind you in a single file line. But as we come up to this first door here, if we tap middle mouse, you kind of get a bunch of different options of what you can do with the AI. Now by default, they're just going to stack up on the door, which is where they just line up and get ready to go in. Now since we can see right through this, we're just going to tell them to go right through. And you see they check their corners, they split up, make sure everything is safe before they stop moving. Now we see this door, and I'm going to tell them to stack up. And there's a couple different options there. We can go left, right, or auto. I like picking auto and letting the AI choose. Most of the time they default to doing a split stack, so either 2 on side of the door. So we're going to tell them to mirror under the door. So they take a little camera and they look underneath the door and they check for any kind of bombs on the other side, if there's any enemies, any civilians, that kind of stuff. And you can see in the bottom right, he'll say no trap visible, no targets visible, so this door is pretty safe. Now what I'm going to have them do is open it up and chuck a flashbang in there, and once that goes off, they'll all run in and try to clear the room. And we cut away there just so we can avoid some of the violent nature of this game. We're moving on to the same mission, but I wanted to show you a different way to go in, and kind of some of the different ways you can attack some of the doors there. That's a big part of this game, is how you attack doorways, because that's the most dangerous part when you're doing this kind of police work in real life, is doorways and small spaces, that kind of stuff. So we're going to go the same way we did, but this time we're going to go up onto that porch instead of going through the basement. And like before, I'm going to tell him to stack up. This time I'm going to tell him to do it on the right, because I don't really like how exposed it is on the left there. And now this is a really cool part that I noticed here. There's a table that kind of is blocking them from lining up on the right, and they see that, and they kind of space out. You see the two go ahead of it and two go behind it. We're going to have a mirror under the door again. So he sees a trap behind that door. So we know if we go through that door, it's going to go boom. So we don't want to do that. And we can tell him to disarm that trap. And what he's going to do is he's going to peek it open a little bit. And there's a little wire at the bottom he's going to cut. And now that door is safe. And now here's what I really wanted to show off. Is not only can they, throw a flashbang themselves, but you can also have them wait for you to do something. So I'm going to have him open the door and clear it on my go. And I'm going to use a gas grenade and throw it in this room, because I've played this level before and I know enemies like to hide in that room. The gas grenade goes off and then they follow in and clear that space out. Alright, we're going to cut to the next mission here. This one's at a gas station. Now this is a pretty fun scenario I wanted to show off. You have a civilian that's surrendering on the ground there, and then you got someone who's robbing the gas station that's got his hands up, but he's not getting down, so we're not really sure what he's doing. Now I try to use a flashbang here, maybe throw him off his game a little bit and get him to surrender. The AI's in my way a little bit there. We walk in, tell him to put his hands up, and he doesn't really seem to be cooperating. He doesn't want to. Now we're going to hit him a couple times with the little pepper balls in this gun. They shoot the same kind of material that you'd find in like a can of mace. He's coughing. He doesn't like the pepper balls. We're going to give him a second to stop coughing. Now he doesn't really want to. We're telling him to get down and he's just not doing it. So I'm going to tell the AI to use a taser on him. Now you can see in the top right there on his body cam, he's going to come up. He's going to pull the taser out, zap him. It's a little goofy with the animations, but then he goes down with the taser. And you can get him to surrender and wrap him up for transport back to police headquarters. So I thought that was a pretty fun kind of showing off how the AI interacts with each other and how you can tell, your whole team to do something, or you can tell the AI to do something individually. Now we're going to cut to the end of the mission here. Now this is something pretty interesting. There's a lot of different side objectives and kind of optional stuff you can do throughout the mission. And once you get all the bad guys, you can basically complete the mission there. But if you want to do the whole thing, you got to get all the civilians, you got to get all the guns that are dropped on the ground, all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the mission, if you just don't want to run around and do all that yourself, you can actually have the AI do it for you. And I think that's pretty neat. We're going to cut ahead here a little bit to another mission. Now this is where it gets really interesting. So here I'm going to tell the AI to stay where they are, tell them to hold position, and they're just going to stand there. I'm going to run in and get myself shot a whole bunch. I'm going to go down, and we're going to spectate the AI, and they're going to actually complete the mission for me, completely on their own. So I'm kind of just let this play out. We can kind of talk about it a little bit. It's kind of interesting stuff we see. So they immediately rush through this door and they find someone, hit him with the pepper balls. He goes down, but they don't really stay to make sure that he's secure. They kind of just leave him there, surrendering. Now they're holding this spot because they know this is a sketchy spot, but this is where it's really weird. They go back into that room with a flashbang, in the same room that they already were in. So they should know that that room is clear, but instead they flashbang it and go back in. Now they're getting that guy. As you can see, they hold angles that they think are dangerous, like open doors or hallways. They don't just stare at the walls most of the time. Now they see a guy outside here. They're telling him to get down. He doesn't really seem to be cooperating. There he goes. They know he's a civilian, so he's not too much of a threat. They can clear this bathroom out. Now this guy's waiting at the door. He sees his friends come behind him. Now he's going in. And they clear this room. They see this door. Quickly scans the doorway. And now they're going to go back. This is really weird. They're walking backwards all the way back to where they were. Now they're going up the stairs. This is dangerous, because you never know what could be at the top of that staircase. The fact that they didn't use like any kind of flashbangs or anything, that's pretty sketchy. What he did just there was pretty cool. He scanned the doorway before going in. You know, he walked across, looked to see if there's anything inside before he just ran in there. Now you see this guy knows this bathroom door is closed, so there could be someone behind there. So he's going to hold this door while his teammates clear the room. He's going to kick it open. They're going to throw a flashbang out there. And that on the front porch here, someone's below them with a gun. They're getting shot at, but they don't really know how to respond because the AI is below them. So they just kind of go through this door and say, we're going to get that guy later. Now they flashbang this room even though they've already been in here. They should know this is clear, but they flashbang it anyway. We'll just call them extra safe. That's pretty neat. He's checking underneath the bed to make sure there's no civilians hiding underneath there, because the civilian AI will hide underneath beds and closets and all kinds of stuff. Now they see this grandmother across the hallway, and he starts aiming a flashbang launcher at her. And they don't really know what to do. They're yelling at her to get down. She's not really doing it. They got this doorway. She moves to the side, and then he just switches and shoots that flashbang in there. Pretty weird behavior. But they're going to clear this room. This one's going to check the bed again. This one's just holding this doorway, making sure no one rushes in at them. And now they're going to go back out. Now they see the grandmother surrendering in there, and they see this stairway, and there's an enemy at the top of the stairs. And they get a little confused here. Now the enemy at the top of the stairs is the biggest threat, but they choose to go through this door instead. They throw a flashbang in there. That's pretty good. They clear the bathroom. They know this door is dangerous. There might be someone behind there. They're going to stack up on the door with a split. One guy gets the flashbang ready. They breach it, throw the flash in. And they just flashbang that poor granny. That seems a little overkill to me. But they're going to put the zip ties on her, make sure she's okay before they continue on. Now they're going to go up these stairs. Now this is dangerous. They see a guy with a gun. He rushes through. That's pretty cool. As he goes up the stairs, he sees the guy with the gun, and he knows he's got to be fast, so he changes movement speed to be quicker. Now here's where some of the realism kind of goes away. They've got all the bad guys surrendering here, and they just kind of run around. They grab all the stuff on the ground. They're not really checking the angles. They're phasing in and out of each other. Just looks a little goofy. But they did a pretty good job. They got all the enemies. None of them got shot too much. They cleared the rooms. They got the civilians. They're checking these dark spaces where they might be hiding. They see this room. They all stack up on the door. He's scanning it. They're going to throw a flashbang in there. And then they rush in. Now here is where it kind of all falls apart. So they've cleared every room. They've gotten all the enemies. They've gotten all the civilians. So now there's nothing really for them to do, but they won't complete the mission. And that's kind of a limitation of the game itself. You know, the AI not being able to complete the mission. But overall, I think they did a really good job considering that there's no player there telling them what to do. They're just kind of going at it, and they work like that on any of the levels in the game. You could do it on the biggest or smallest levels, and they'll still complete the whole thing, you know, besides actually doing the completion at the end. So yeah, that's basically it. I think this game is really cool. I think the interactions between all the AI is really interesting. I would have loved to show more of it off, but you know, I could fill up the whole class period talking about this game and all the different interactions. On every level, the enemies are different. So on some levels, they may be really hostile and they may shoot at you the second they see you, or they may be a little less hostile. Maybe they are, you know, like that gas station one where they're just trying to get a couple bucks out of the register and they're not trying to have a shootout with police. They might just tell you, no, I'm not putting my gun down, or something like that. But overall, yeah, I really like this game. I think the AI is really cool. And any questions?